Good evening, team, and welcome to this Wednesday night's podcast, brought to you by Team CP, your endurance coaching specialists. Thanks again to our sponsors, Giant Bikes, Front Runner, Solomon, Pure, Sunto, True Fleece, Coffee Culture, and Evo Cycles. I'm Matt, the guy that works in the background with Team CP. I'm a mountain bike coach and do everything that needs to be done behind the scenes, particularly at Coast to Coast and all the other sorts of things around the place. But it's not about me tonight. It's about our head honcho, fresh from the hyperbolic chamber. That is the Zwift Wednesday night session. The guy with the pain stick, head coach, Richard Greer. How are we getting on tonight?
Jeevers, you've been practicing that, have you, Matt?
Possibly. Somehow.
Got your cue cards from your speech.
Yeah.
No, well done. That's awesome. Hey, it's a bit of a full circle thing, isn't it, really? Like you've, back in the day, the CP media team was brought about by basically free lunches and helicopter rides over the Coast to Coast mountain run. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, we part that. And all sorts of craziness went on. And here you are back leading the podcast for tonight, stepping in as you mentioned on your notes there, the part-time CP media guy.
Yeah, I'm pleased that, although one thing is probably still the same, there's still the operating on a budget of zero. So, some things are good to keep consistent and it's still going well and strong.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the quality and consistency and all about the good banter as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you've got to keep people G'd up and keep people understanding what's going on around the place. So, it's good.
Yeah, good stuff. So, what have you been up to, Matt? Are you training for something at the moment? Haven't talked to you for a little while.
Yeah, so Waka 100 is on the card. So that's the end of October. It's a 100k mountain bike race around Rotorua. So looking forward to that. So this training for me is more indoor training, kind of on the old Zwift. So that's been really good getting into that and trying to get out in the hills when it's a little bit fine. I was out last weekend and it was really nice. But
good.
Got a few plans for this weekend, but we'll keep them under wraps until we can report back, maybe from the field.
That's right. You might be mobbed otherwise, eh?
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit like you and James that I'm out of Lincoln and there's not too many hills out here, so you got to travel to get to them. But if you're going to travel, you got to do them big, so it's good.
Yeah, good job. No, that's awesome. That's brilliant. And speaking, sorry,
where you go?
Oh no! I was just going to say, speaking of hills, we've got our peak bagging season is open through the course of July. Have you bagged any peaks yet, Matt?
Well, I've bagged a couple. I've got a couple of questions about that, actually. I mean, Zwift has peaks on it, but they probably can't claim those because they're not on New Zealand Topo.
No.
And then the other one is that if you look on New Zealand Topo, some hills just have a dot and a high point, but it's not named. And same if you look on Linz, there's trigs and those sorts of things, but they're not named. So I've had to make a few adjustments to my plan, but there'll be some named peaks coming up. Don't you worry about that.
There will. Okay. I'm pleased that you've got something lined up for us. That's good. Yep. So that's the track. A named peak. So that's the job through the course of July. And actually, as part of that, we've got this little Sun 2-3 watch to give away as part of that winning prize. So the name of the game is to see how many name peaks you can get under your own steam, either riding or running during the month. If you're not sure, as Matt mentioned, go to the Topo NZ website and find out where those name peaks are. So get some friends together, family, or just the dog and you, and head for the hills, share an adventure, and let us know. Be into the draw to win that and a few other prizes as well.
Yeah, that's the prize there. It's Sunto make fantastic watches. I'm fortunate enough to have one myself, and best battery life around, and they'll tell you more data than you need to care about. But it's certainly fantastic.
Yeah, and on winners, just since we're talking about that, last week we had an Evo Cycles prize pack as part of our podcast with Eddie Dawkins, and talked a lot about strength and power and all that sort of stuff. And Billy Powell come back and said, my wife just scored us a bargain weight bench and weights. So CP strength coach Kim Varga, you can help me out develop some bomber buns and some thunder thighs, some good strength training lessons learned. So well done, Billy. There's an Evo Cycles prize pack and there's definitely a bit of a voucher in there as well. So hopefully that'll help you ride your bike even faster.
Yeah. I was still pretty impressed by Eddie's output, Like, was it 2.6 kilowatts on all that? I mean, that's like a heater. That's ridiculous. But when you got that big, hats off to the guy.
Yeah, no, very, very impressive. Like his 1 minute power of 1200 watts, that just makes my 5 second power or max power look a bit abysmal, really. So keep working on it.
Yeah,
No, that's awesome.
That's great. So who have we got on the show tonight, Rich?
Yeah, brilliant. So we've got Mike Phillips. I'm pretty excited to talk to Mike. He's been in my sights for a little while now, but finally managed to track him down. So Mike is a pro triathlete. He's come from a background of short course ITU racing. And in 2015, Mike transitioned to the long course triathlon, maybe a little bit earlier than he originally expected, but he's completed 29 international Ironman or challenge races, both 70.3 and full distance events. So that's a fair few. But the key stat for me is that he's podiumed in 23 of those 29 events, which is incredible considering the fields and quality of fields that are out there. So he had his debut in Ironman 2017, finishing the world's fastest debut time of 7 hours, 52 minutes and 50 seconds. And as a result of that, went to Hawaii. And he's also followed that up with winning the New Zealand Ironman in 2019 and a course record run time of 2 hours and 40 minutes. 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'd probably be battling to do that on my bike.
Yeah, I might not sign up next to him. He sounds a little bit too, maybe in the car.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to chat to Mike, find out what makes him go so fast and what makes him tick, especially through sort of lockdown and what his plans are and how he's trained, etc. And then we're going to catch up with CP athlete Emma Wilson, who at just 17 years old convincingly won the women's 2-day Kathmandu coast to coast, and this year's looking for a new challenge. She's going to do the double of longest day coast to coast, and 3 weeks later turn up and do the Taupo 70.3 in March. So that's pretty exciting. It'll be interesting to have a bit of a chat to her to see where she's at within her training.
It's interesting when you kind of hear about athletes that kind of use the longest day as a training run or ride, isn't it? It's some of the efforts that come off after those, like I guess Godzone's one that's a bit later in the year, not long after that. And when you see all the athletes out on course that are just burying themselves and like this is for training, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it is. It's pretty inspiring. All right. So should we? Do you want to try and click some buttons there, Matt, and see if we can get?
Bring Mike in here. How you getting on?
How you going?
Pretty good, thanks. I hear you've been out for a light run today.
Yeah, a few Ks today, a few Ks on the legs.
Yeah, and Matt was saying earlier that was a warm up to the podcast tonight. Is that true, Mike?
Yeah. I didn't want to come in cold.
Yeah, brilliant. So tell us about your run today. How far did you go and what did you do on it?
I think it was about 24 Ks with a few hill reps in the middle. I live up on the hills in Christchurch, so run around there here quite a bit. Some pretty good ones around here, pretty steep ones. So good for doing some intervals on.
Yeah, good job.
You'll be that guy that runs past me going up Rapaki several times, right?
Yeah, I feel like a bit of a dickhead. It's like people think I'm stalking them or something when I'm just running back and forward past them while they're walking up.
That's right. I'm pretty sure I've seen that guy before already.
It's you riding the bike, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah. Right. No, it's all good.
No, brilliant. So, Mike, tell us a bit about your background. How did you get into triathlon and who were your key influences early on in the early years?
I guess I did a lot of sports at school and just tried to whittle that down a wee bit. In the last few years of high school, started focusing a bit more on triathlon. We had a great sports coordinator there, Christine Todd, who was always pushing us to get involved in what we can and helping us along our journey. I guess when I went to university, when I sort of started taking triathlon a bit more seriously and dropped out the other sports. As you said in the intro, I guess in 2015, I started going towards the long course racing, which seemed to suit me a bit better. That's how the last sort of 4 or 5 years have been focused on, really. Yeah,
nice, awesome. In terms of that, like in regards to your sort of evolution and development as an athlete, a lot of people knew about you, but your New Zealand Ironman win was a real breakthrough for you, wasn't it, in 2019?
Yeah. I guess, I'd had some good races overseas, but I always sort of thought until you can win the Ironman at home in front of everyone and against all the best Kiwi guys, then you're still kind of you know, that was kind of like the yardstick to know that I could kind of be, you know, that I could be successful in this format of racing, I guess.
Yep. And what about that run time of 2:40? How do you pace that? How do you go about that? Was that a bit lighter off the bike, or did you just have a good day that day? What happened there?
Yeah, it was actually quite funny. I guess in the, you know, I did first couple of Ironmans, and you know, I'd been pretty solid, and I thought, you know, I could swim and bike with, you know, my swimming and biking times were really competitive, but running, I was, you know, I think my best was 2 hours 50, which was sort of, it was okay, but you know, it wasn't really like, you wouldn't win a big level race running 2 hours 50. So a lot of people said to me, you know, you're too heavy to run fast time and all that kind of stuff. So I guess that's when I focused on my running, and I just wanted to see, you know, that I could run a kind of time that would put me in the front end of one of those bigger races. So it was a combination of focusing on my running as well as just getting everything right on the day. I think like it's not only running well, but it's being fresh when you start the run. So I think I was in good enough bike shape that I got off quite fresh. And I guess a lot of people have probably heard the story about that race, but I had quite a few issues on the bike, and mechanical issue, and then I crashed halfway and broke my hand. So, you know, maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe it was the adrenaline or something. I don't know.
Right. Okay. A little bit of injection of that, and that would be pretty cool if you're trying to run as well, eh?
Yeah, but it was just one of those days where the whole day I was kind of on the run. I was telling myself to slow down, so I was obviously feeling quite good. It wasn't sort of until like 5Ks to go that I started trying to pick it up a bit. But yeah, until sort of halfway, I felt like I'd just been jogging. So I think it was just one of those days, as well as just a really good preparation.
Yeah, good. You telling yourself to slow down. Where were the competition on that day for you?
So I got off the bike 18 minutes behind.
Okay, and so, you're telling yourself to slow down. Are you still hunting them down at that stage?
Yeah. So me and Braden, I think I started the run about 2 minutes behind Braden, and he always starts very fast. But I guess for me, I actually wasn't really thinking about the win. I just thought, because I'd had all these problems on the bike, I thought, you know, I've done all this run training. I want to show that I can run a fast time to see if that training that I did actually worked. So I thought, you know, the upper bound of my pacing would be sort of low 240s, maybe 245. So I just sat just under that, knowing that was kind of a realistic target. And just one by one, everyone started coming back to me. It's amazing how much time you make up when you're running. You know, 30 Ks in, you're still running 340s, and everyone else is sort of down to 420s. You start making up time pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think it was something like 30 seconds a K I had to make up on the first guy in the run. So it's quite a long time. But I guess, it just really paid off, that holding back early on the run.
And that just shows you it's a race of attrition, isn't it? And it comes in the last 10 Ks. Can you still move well at the end?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, you can easily be running 1 minute a K faster than someone. So, you know, 1 lap to go, 10 Ks to go, you can make up 10 minutes if, you know, you're still running well and they're slowing down. So, I think I just got the pacing right and maybe a bit of adrenaline and just had a good build up.
Yeah, nice. So talking about build up, let's look at the 2021 race, this last season that we've just had. So it was a key race, New Zealand Ironman, rescheduled back 3 weeks later because of COVID. On reflection, did this help or hinder your race day performance, and why?
I sort of had a pretty good lead up that I've done for the last sort of 3 or 4 of my best Ironmans, and so I was following that pretty closely. And we had Challenge Wanaka was scheduled 2 weeks out from the original start date, so I didn't do that race just so that I could follow my normal plan. And when the race got pushed out 3 weeks, I think it was only 1 week before the race, so it sort of already started tapering down. And I found it pretty hard to manage that extra 3 weeks. It's like, do you go back into another block of training, or, you know, your body's kind of just coming out of the overtraining hole a wee bit, and then you've got to kind of launch back into it a wee bit. So I don't know how it affected me. I mean, I don't know. I'd say the other guys are probably a bit luckier. They had that extra recovery time.
With coming
after
off
Wanaka.
Wanaka,
you know, I wish I raced Wanaka and then I could have still had, you know, 5 weeks to prepare for Ironman. But no, I mean, everyone's in the same boat, so, you know, you got to learn to try to manage these changes and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely hard to manage when you're sort of tapering down, and then you've got to get back out for your long rides again. You do your last long run and you think, oh, finally, 5 weeks of those done, and then you got another couple of them to go.
Yeah, that's it. It's probably not so much physical, isn't it? It's more mental to actually go again and then keep grinding away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the answer to that is you race pretty well, actually, and by the sounds of it, you actually managed yourself pretty well, because you ended up going pretty well on race day.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was pretty good. But when you've run 240, I guess you always want to improve. So when you run slower, you think, why am I? There's no reason you should be slower. So yeah, but Ironman, there's a lot of different factors which go into a performance, and small percentages make a big difference. So yeah, there's probably many things which affected that, but yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, nice. Tell us about the virtual racing. That's something that you really got stuck into during lockdown, probably sort of this time last year, a little bit earlier. But what were the learnings for you from that experience? Is it something that you incorporate into your training more now as a result of that experience?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They so Zwift had a series, as well as Ironman had a series, where we could race the other pros around the world.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good to kind of measure where you're at, and if you're a bit smarter as well, you kind of work out how Zwift worked with the power ups and the knowing when to sprint and things like that. So I learned a lot doing that. And I guess, like, being a bigger guy, I found the sprints I was quite good at sprinting compared to a lot of the other guys racing in Ironman. So I do all right in the crits and the and all those sort of bunch sprint kind of races. But yes, it was a lot easier than doing the ones with the road cyclists, I can show you that. But yeah, the hill climbs and stuff were pretty hard, but it was just a cool way to race other guys around the world, and you get a really solid workout. There's no freewheeling on the trainer. So yeah, no, it's definitely good. And yeah, I do incorporate it to some degree now. It sort of depends what period we're in and what we're focusing on. But yeah, not at 4 a.m. anymore. We sort of had to match in with the broadcast times for the US or Europe or the other guys we were doing it against. So New Zealand always sort of got the short straw, 4 a.m. starts.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? And because you're competing and you're a competitive guy, so you want to sort of actually give it a decent nudge. That's tough to that's not morning, it's actually nighttime, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when you're a professional athlete. I mean, you don't need to get up for training at 4 a.m.
No, that's totally right. Absolutely. So, tell us about some injuries and a bit of a background there. So, unfortunately, the part of every athlete's journey, and over the past couple of years, you've both had a knee and a back injury that's affected your training and racing. Tell us about those. What have you learned about dealing with injuries when you just want to actually get out there and train and race to your best?
Yeah, it's really hard. Last year, I had a herniated disc in my back, which was really difficult to manage. Sort of like couldn't really walk when I first had it, like just that shooting pain down the leg.
How did you do it?
I'm not really too sure yet, but after Kona, I went for a holiday in the Philippines, and I was getting a massage from, I'm not sure how many degrees this guy had in massage, but he went to crack my back, and he just like did it over his knee.
Oh, really?
Almost like kind of like rolled it onto his knee, and ever since, like, it made a really loud crack, but ever since then it was just like hasn't been good. But it's amazing how something so small like that can affect you. It's probably 6 months until I could run again after that. But yeah, I found that really difficult because I was this was a year after I'd won New Zealand Ironman, and leading up into it, I only started running about 3 or 4 weeks before the race. So it's pretty tight turnaround, but I guess I was pretty motivated, so I was doing what I could, riding every day, and my riding actually picked up quite a lot to the point where I think it meant I could still run all right. Like in New Zealand Ironman, I still ran 2:45, which was, only 5 minutes slower than the year before, but I'd done sort of 3 or 4 weeks of running. So I was actually probably more proud of that than the year before. But yeah, I think it was just that, I focused on what I could do. I was put more time into the swimming, biking, just maintaining my body and doing what I could to try and, give myself the best chance of performing. And, even though I hadn't done the run miles in that last few months, I guess there's some muscle memory there that doesn't just go away.
So what you're saying is run training overrated? Is that what you're saying? Because actually, it's a pretty only 5 minutes slower. And as you said, there's so many different factors that affect a triathlon Ironman based event, and especially as it gets longer, it gets tougher.
Yeah, exactly. I sort of sat down after that and thought, do I need to run that much? Maybe I'm better off, because cycling's so much lower impact and lower risk. You can do a lot more miles and not add that stress to your body. Whereas running is quite, if there's anyone that's like risking injuring yourself, it's definitely high run mileage. Well, for me anyway. Yeah. It's sort of, I don't know, I haven't really had that many races to try out a new training regime, but definitely made me think that maybe you don't need as many. Maybe you need as many runs, but maybe not as many high volume or high intensity workouts.
I guess it also shows
maybe you can do them cross training or something.
Yeah, and the importance of your ride, the importance of your bike as well, because it really sets up your run or not, doesn't it?
Yeah. You're on the bike for the longest period of the race, and if you're comfortable and you're in good condition and you get off that ride fairly fresh, I guess that does a long way. Goes a long way into the run. That running not fatigued is a lot easier than being completely fatigued, even if you're in great running shape.
Yeah, nice. So what did you learn about like dealing with injuries? Like, is there any learning to share with others in terms of dealing with that? Is it actually, from what you've said, just changing your focus on okay, well, what can I do? Is that part of it for you?
Yeah, I think the things out of your control you can't really do much about. So, I was driving down to the park and I'd do some stretches and exercises, and then I'd just jog around the park and see, and I'd get 100 meters and then I'd be walking back to the car and going home, and it was like, there's not going to be any miracle. It's like, what can I do? I can ride my bike pain-free, and I can swim, and I can, do some core stuff and exercises and just look after my body as best I can. And, I think that was a great approach to take. Sitting around sort of, feeling sorry for yourself about what you can't do doesn't really help you. So, just make the most of what you can do, and try and set yourself up. Like, if you can improve your riding by 5%, then when you start running, you're in a better position. So it's always the sort of approach I've tried to take.
Yeah, nice. In terms of what do you do strength training wise? What do you do to try and decrease the chances of injuries? Now, what's your regime? What do you do on a weekly type basis for yourself?
I don't do so much specific strength exercises. I guess I kind of use resistance training as my strength workout. So sort of uphill cycling or big gear or running in the hills, and sort of a bit of off-road running and stuff as well to kind of help those stabilizer muscles, which I think is actually quite specific to Ironman running when you're tired and trying to hold your body in a good position and upright, and you're sort of got a bit of jelly legs and all that kind of thing. But I guess I don't really go and lift weights or anything like that, but I think that's more just my I guess I'm sort of I put on muscle quite easily, more of a bigger guy, so in triathlon terms. So I guess I try to do my strength training in sort of resistance forms, and then quite a bit of mobility work. I'm just trying to make sure that everything's firing properly.
Yeah, great. Do you do some core strength? You mentioned you did that while you were rehabbing your back. Is that part of it? Like some planks?
I do some just really common exercises when I've got time, and when if something's niggly, I'll sort of try and focus on that. So if I have a dodgy knee, I'll try and do some glute exercises or do some stretching or specific sort of workouts for that. But I don't really have like I don't sort of 3 times a week go and do a specific session.
Yeah, nice. As a triathlete, there's a super strong bike leg. Are you happy to share your current FTP number?
I did actually see your list of questions there, and I thought, I guess I kind of do follow a similar thing to FTP, but I've never done an FTP test or use an FTP number as such. I sort of compare everything for my 70.3 or Ironman race powers. So I either have like 70.3 power or full Ironman power. I guess I sort of thought just that's my specific goal is either, a 2-hour time trial or a 4-hour time trial, 4.5-hour time trial. So I guess you could kind of work out the FTP from that. But I guess in terms of training, I train to, above 70.3, below 70.3, sort of in that kind of, so I've never done any testing like that, I guess. I mean, I do some intervals, which you could probably have a pretty fair guess at what my FTP would be. But I'd say it would be probably around 400.
Yeah. So what do you don't need to share this if you don't want to, but what do you consider, what is an Ironman power for you around about? What is a 2-hour power, 70.3 type power for you?
So like my best 70.3 is a sort of like 350 to 360. And an Ironman, I'm more sort of just over 300 is quite a good one for me. Still sort of struggle in that last like 30, 40 Ks. But I think my best one was maybe 305.
Okay, there we go. Matt's just taking some notes in the background. I think he's not going to go Eddie Dawkins like we did last week of the 1 minute power. I don't think he'll play with you and your 4-hour power either. I think he'll try and find another place to compete with you there. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so as the season fluctuates, are you looking at that as a, like, how do you test that? How do you know how I'm going throughout the season? How do you?
So I guess, I was thinking about it a bit earlier today. And I guess in the past, I've been racing sort of every like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's been a really good gauge of where I've been at. In the last 18 months, I guess I don't really have any tests, any sort of, I mean, I have sessions that I do that are similar in certain periods throughout the year, which I can get a good gauge on kind of what my heart rate is and what powers I'm doing in those sessions. But I don't do a specific test sort of every month or so to measure where I'm at. I guess more so because I used to race a lot, which was my kind of yardstick for how I was going. Sort of the power I pushed and how I felt when I got off the bike was sort of a good indicator of that whether that fitness and the training I was doing was right.
Yeah. So I guess that's a bit of a challenge, and that's part of it. I mean, even the Olympics they talk about, don't they? Is that no one's raced anyone else. Everyone's a bit doesn't know where anyone else is at. And the same thing, like you were shooting for Kona, the same thing. Everyone's a bit looking around, saying, "Here, how's everybody going? What have you been doing since we last caught up?" So it's a big unknown, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you might be able to you might work out how to ride 300 watts and then run a 240 half marathon, but then someone else might be training to go and ride 310 and run 235, but you don't know, you don't know what someone's going to do on the day. So I guess you got to try and work out your best plan of attack there.
Nice. Do you have a coach yourself?
I've just started getting some help from John Hellemans again. He's sort of coached me through till 2018-ish, and then I started coaching myself for a few years. Certainly learn a lot coaching yourself, and you've only got yourself to blame if you don't put in the work. But it is also, I think it's really important to have someone kind of overarching, seeing what you're doing and just providing some input that you can kind of get caught up in doing certain sessions and things like that without sort of an external input, which is can kind of see what you're doing and point out the things, like you sort of start getting favorite sessions and things like that that you're doing, which might not be the best thing for you. I'm getting some help again from John, which has been really good. Yeah,
nice, and quite nice to have that, and then come back to catch up with him again, because obviously you've got a rapport with him and understands, because you guys work together for a start.
Yeah, exactly. I think knowing your coach well and knowing the athlete well makes a massive difference. Everyone responds to training differently, and knowing sort of how they respond, and especially John being a doctor as well, sort of knows what's a niggle and what's a serious injury. So that's it's a massive part of that relationship, and just having good trust between you.
Yeah, and someone who's experienced of that as well. He's been around and knows
he's
how
been around the block a couple times. Yeah,
he's kind of the godfather, isn't he, of New Zealand triathlon?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Recovery is as important as a hard training session, isn't it? So how do you recover? What do you do? Because you've done 2 sessions today, a swim and a run. What do you do for your recovery?
Yeah, I make sure that in that sort of window afterwards that I've got something to eat, rehydrated well, and also have some. There's a local company here called Myovolt in Christchurch, which has started up, and they make a recovery device. It's sort of like a strap-on kind of focal vibration device, which sort of helps to get the blood flowing again. And so I try to use that. Try to make sure I'm getting in fluids and nutrition, and try not to do too much other stuff.
I guess one of the key things with that device is that it actually makes you sit down too, which is part of it as well. You put your feet up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's very easy just to, being home all the time. It's quite easy when you're overseas to, you've got nothing else to do. But when you're at home, it's like, oh, I need to go and cut that tree, or I need to go, I need to go and clean that roof or something.
Yes.
But yeah, it is definitely good to. Recovery is a massive part, not only in sort of getting those performance gains, but also not getting injured. So it's definitely something that's hard to balance for the full-time worker, part-time athlete. Everyone's sort of trying to get in more miles and more Ks and do more training, but you've got to recover as well.
Yeah. Nutrition is a big part of triathlon. They talk about it as the 4th discipline. Pretty keen to hear about how you do it, and also it's always good to hear about a bit of a nutrition fail. Maybe a day that it didn't go quite so well for you. So tell us about that. When did it not go to plan, and what do you kind of do in an Ironman to actually make sure that you've got that spring in your step as much as you can towards the back end of your race?
Yeah, so I guess in an Ironman, I just use all liquid nutrition. So it'll be kind of a mixture of gels and sports drinks. And it sort of depends on the race as well. Some races you can easily put your own stuff into a special needs sort of bit, which you can pick up along the way, but some you have to use what's on the course. So yeah, I guess one of the fails, I guess, was in Barcelona in the Ironman. It was the end of our trip in Europe, and I only had 2 gels left. So I put two gels of the brand that I always use, and I put them in my transition zone or whatever, and I had the 2 gels while I was running, and I normally have one sort of every 7 Ks or so on the run. And I was running really well for about 15 Ks, and then the only ones they had on course were, I think it was like a really thick kind of like chocolate or caffeine, like coffee flavored gel on the side.
Yeah, because they were trying
so I started having those about 20 Ks, and I just couldn't have any of, it's sort of in my mouth, like you kind of have that cotton mouth kind of feeling.
Yes.
And I was like, geez, all this because I didn't order like 10 more gels.
Damn it.
But yeah, I guess when it's gone well, I've had all the ones I'm used to, and I've had a good season of racing where I've sort of had a few practice runs with that and how much I can have. In that New Zealand Ironman where I won, I had about 120 grams of carbs an hour on the bike.
Okay, jeepers.
Which is crazy. But somehow I started the run with an empty stomach, so like there was nothing sitting in my stomach, which is I think that's all part of it as well, as having your stomach working well and being able to utilize and what you're putting into your body. Because I know a lot of people have troubles with the sports nutrition. They put in too much, and you get kind of all kinds of sickness. And so getting that balance right is really hard.
And is that like mainly through sports drink that you're drinking? Because it's all on your bike. So you said you're drinking that. So is that sports drink, just that, or is it gels, or like 120 grams of carbon?
It's a combination. So I had a little bottle which had about 20 gels in it, which might have been about 200 grams of carbs or something like that in the bottle, in the gel bottle, and then I had about 350 grams in sports drink or something.
Yeah, and then have you got a bit of water to help wash it down?
So they have water at the aid station, so that's easy to grab along the way. But yeah, I actually finished I think I took 550 grams on the bike or something, and I finished it all with 40 k's to go, and picked up another bottle off the side at the aid station. So,
which also, as you say, means that you've got that through you and in you, and then you're not sort of overdoing it close to the end of the bike ride. So then you run with it joggling around so much.
Yeah, I think I've got a pretty good idea of when it's sort of sitting in your gut and when it's gone through. If you're sort of burping and sort of have that kind of gluggy feeling in your stomach, it's probably still in there. So yeah, it's hard to get right, but I think you can also train that as well. And having a few races in the build up where you're using that nutrition and pushing the limit I think really helps your body to boost that limit a wee bit.
Yeah, nice. Do you have a must do workout that you do on a weekly basis, Mike?
I sort of have my staples, I guess, like long runs on Wednesdays, long bikes on Sundays, and Tuesday Worlds, of course, the Tuesday bunch ride, which goes off around Long Bays.
Nice.
So I've got a few pretty standard workouts that I try and do each week, and it's always good to do some stuff with some other people, some cyclists or some runners when they're around.
That's you've seen a number of races, and you're on the hammer the whole time. But leading up kind of to a race, I guess we at CP deal with a lot of triathletes and multi-sport athletes, and we focus a lot on preparation, kind of the day before. What's your kind of key hint or point for people in triathlon about your key item of the day before a race?
I try to make sure I get everything well sorted the day before. I mean, there's definitely been a few times I've been running around trying to glue another tire on or, grab that spoke from something. But, I think now I'm pretty good at, the week before making sure everything's sorted so that I can have a pretty low-key day the day before. I'll sort of go out and do a little swim bike run, make sure everything's working, put the bike in the transition, and then just try and smash down some carbs and put the feet up and don't waste any energy. That's sort of like the best day of the whole build up. You got eat unlimited food and don't do anything.
Yeah, and I guess with a number of races overseas and stuff, I guess you kind of have to have that adapt and overcome kind of philosophy, don't you? That it is what it is, and what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of people get worried the day before a race, but if you've done the build up as you're supposed to, and you've done everything you can to be as prepared as possible for that day, then you can only do what you can do out there. So there's no point getting nervous the day before. Like when we start a race, I always just sort of think like, I'm swimming. Is my entry good? Am I swimming properly? Not sort of like, I wonder how I feel on the run today. I try to focus on what's happening at that time, and just hope that results in a good performance.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Mike, the cyclocross race and the weekend that you turned up to, it was a bike ride. But as a true triathlete, you actually went for a swim as well. Was that a planned move?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. There's a cycle races out at Spencer Park. It's kind of sandy course, and there's a few flat bits. And this one bit, it went across a walkway with sort of a swampy lake on either side. And on the practice lap, I thought, like at the briefing, they said, be careful on there, it can be slippery, and I sort of thought, like, how would anyone fall in there? And sure enough, I came out, it was quite a muddy bit before it, and I was trying to, I guess, not having the best skills, not the skills of those cyclocross guys, I was trying to make up as much time as possible on the faster bits. So, I pretty effectively slid off that walkway and into the lake. Sort of lying there being like, geez, I did end up in here.
I was thinking about your entry to a swim. Were you thinking about that at that moment, or how would you rate that entry?
I was actually pretty lucky. I was wearing all black. No one could tell that I'd fallen in the lake. So I was only when they sort of came up and smelt the sort of that sewagey smell of those stagnant lakes. But it's good fun. Definitely worth checking out those Southern Cross cyclocross races they run. Pretty good fun and pretty competitive as well. Lots of people out there. So something different.
Awesome. No, that's fantastic.
Thanks for your insights into the life of a pro triathlete, Mike. It's like you go give it full gas, when you're out there, and we kind of look forward to seeing you on the podium and the races coming up. And I guess good luck for Kona. That's probably the next big one, is it?
Yeah, hopefully. I guess we'll see what happens with these travel restrictions and stuff. It's all sort of up in the air at the moment, but yeah, hopefully Cindy's kind opens up these borders soon.
Yeah.
Mike, we're going to finish off with a quick 5. So 5 quick questions, and we'll throw them at you, and you can let us know what your sort of thoughts are. So for a start, training morning, afternoon, or evening, what's your go-to? What would you prefer?
I'm still sort of in the habit of when I was working, so I sort of go morning, evening still. Have the middle of the day free. Yeah, that's my go-to.
Favorite of ice cream?
Or hokey pokey.
Oh, good. Yeah, great. Fancy meal out or a home cooked meal?
Fancy meal out.
Who's cooking
No dishes.
That's that. Who's cooking at home?
Not me.
Favorite snack while out on an adventure?
Go through a few cookie times. Cookie time's a good wee snack in the back pocket.
Nice. And favorite place to train?
It's got to be Christchurch. Train in a lot of places, but it's pretty, not many places you have kind of like a harbour, a ocean, hills like we have here, and then also flat. You sort of either got a few or one or the other, but you don't sort of have all those things at one place. Like the forest here nearby, and such diverse training grounds here that it's really hard to beat. Just be nice if it was a bit warmer.
We'll work on that in the next couple of months. Hopefully we'll start.
Yeah,
good stuff, Mike. We'll wrap up warm. Enjoy that training. Fantastic insights, and thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on the show tonight, and look forward to cheering you on and following your progress in the future.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Good job.
Good luck.
Thanks.
See you later.
Well, Matt, what was your takeaway?
I was actually thinking about, you think of those guys that are running that fast, and we do a few marathons and stuff, or we go and attend a few marathons around Christchurch and those sorts of things, and you see the kind of lead cyclist that's kind of boosting around. You think that if you're the lead cyclist at some of those triathlons, it'd be quite a hard workout, I think. Running that, trying to keep up in front of that sort of pace.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's very impressive, isn't it? And do you know what your 2-hour power number is?
Something above 10 and less than 1,000.
So you're just going to guesstimate. Is that what you're saying? Probably not going to go and test it tomorrow.
No, maybe not. No, I've actually got to go to work tomorrow, so I have to maintain a pretty high FTP at work. So that's
brilliant. Are you trying to say that we should move on in the show? Are you?
We could do. We've actually got another guest in the waiting room. Emma Wilson. She's gone okay at Coast to Coast, and I'm sure she's ready to tell us all about it. Come in, Emma. How are we getting on?
Hi.
Emma, it's great to have you on the show. So Matt said you went kind of okay. So probably a little bit of an understatement. You had the goal of winning the 2-day women's Coast to Coast, and you managed to tick that off, which is pretty awesome. It was really cool to work with you through that process of obviously your training and your adventures, everything that you did, and you were really dedicated with that. And one of the things that you've had a bit of time off, which has been awesome, and we've just actually caught up this week, haven't we, to say, okay, well, where are you at and what are you up to now? So you've got a new challenge on the cards for the summer ahead, which is going to keep it interesting and fresh for you. So tell us about that. What is that?
Well, I thought while I'm training and, keeping fit, I thought, why not give the Ironman a go, or the half Ironman? It's something a little bit different to what I'm used to, like road running and swimming definitely would be a bit of a mission. But, I'd like to set myself a good challenge. Yeah,
good. So you're going to do Coast to Coast longest day, and then back that up with that 70.3. What's your swimming like, Emma? Often start off by kayaking because they maybe prefer to be on top of the water rather than in it. How do you go on the swim?
Well, back as a young kid, I did swimming club for quite a number of years, so it's there a little bit, but I've got a lot to work on. A lot.
Awesome. Good stuff. You turned 18 during the race weekend in February. How long have you been doing this endurance sport thing for?
Well, last year was my first coast to coast. So I was 16 when I raced that. But kind of from a young age, I was out doing races and stuff, and I did a mountain bike race, which was 126k back in 2018. So like I've always kind of done like longer races. So yeah, but kind of only just starting like competitive coast to coast now. So
nice. And your family are into it as well. They're big supporters of you, and you chase them and race each other.
Yeah, no, it's good to have the family out there. Yeah, definitely someone to race against.
Yeah. And getting your dad out, he's pretty keen and enthusiastic.
Yeah, he's not doing the coast to coast again this year, but he'll probably come and do some training with me, maybe, if we don't. Yeah, you get really competitive sometimes. It can end up quite messy, but that's all right.
Yeah. Keeping it real. That's good. Yeah. What do you enjoy the most out of doing these things? What is it for you? Why do you want to come back and do like similar but more this summer?
Yeah, well, I kind of had a bit of a break after this year's coast to coast for I tried 2 weeks off and I just couldn't do it. I had to get out running and biking again. I kind of it's a time for me to clear my head and kind of reset. So I just like being fit. So
nice.
I suppose if I do nothing, I'll go crazy.
Okay, so it's a bit of sanity as well.
Yeah.
You had that outcome goal of I wanted to try and win the 2-day coast to coast as your key goal, and that's always a bit of a tricky one to set because you never quite know who's going to turn up. So we were. That was always the thing that got you out of bed in the morning. But really, we worked on trying to focus on the process and your own performance, first of all. What were the things that you learnt out of training last year and building up to that event for you?
Well, I definitely learnt a lot about prepping and like the different stages of training. But probably one thing I did learn was probably to do more races leading up to the event so that I can have more higher intensity, because I did get cramp during this year's race because of like holding that high intensity for so long. Yeah. So I wasn't used to that. So I think maybe that I definitely learnt from that.
Yeah, right. So having a few more events to line up for and checking your progress.
Yeah, probably would help. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So that's one thing. Is there anything else that you're looking to try and improve on from last year?
Probably balancing out like normal life and training as well. Like I kind of focused and got stuck in this hole of training that I kind of everything else was flying by around me. So when I stopped, I had lots to catch up on because I just kind of put it to the side and just hope for the best. So maybe kind of balancing out life and just training as well.
But, brilliant. I mentioned that your birthday was coast to coast weekend. What was the highlight of that weekend for you?
The highlight was probably finishing and then going out at midnight to have a drink with some family and friends. Just
after racing,
on my first little drink. Yeah, yeah, that was kind of cool. I'll definitely never forget that one.
Yeah. Did you have a nana nap before you went out?
Yeah. Guilty.
Okay, good. That's all right. So you are human. That's fantastic. And what are you most looking forward to in terms of getting to Taupo and racing the 70.3 up there?
I'm looking forward to getting faster at running, and I don't know, just giving something different a go. So it's setting myself a new challenge, keeps things different and exciting. So probably looking forward to going to Taupo as well because I've never been there before.
Cool. What do you think is going to be the hardest bit for you in that race?
Probably the swimming, I think, and then backing it up with the half marathon. Nice. Which I'm kind of used to running on trails and stuff and not really road running, which is quite different to what I'm used to because you've actually got to keep running continuously at that same pace. So. Trail running kind of breaks it up because you're trying to climb over rocks and stuff.
As far as coast to coast goes, I guess we've spent a lot of time, Richard and I, around the coast to coast environment and the course and those sorts of things. What is your favourite part of the course, and which bit do you find most challenging?
My favourite part of the course is probably the mountain run. I really enjoy that, and then just I don't know, all the people and the vibes are really cool. Yeah.
And the most challenging part?
The most challenging part's probably that last 70k bike into the headwind. Usually, that was tough.
That'll be good, because that you'll get on that bike and do 90 Ks up in Taupo and be able to just spend it there. But they do a pretty good job for their crowd up there, so that'll hopefully balance things out.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
What does Team CP and the support of that mean to you?
Team CP's been really supportive and guiding me in the right direction towards my training and just helping me through the year training. So it's pretty good. Really appreciate it.
Cool. So we better wrap up with a 5 fast questions. So for you, Emma, training morning or night?
Well, I work full time, so definitely in the mornings or in the evening. So probably my favourite.
One or the other, as long as I hit it. Have you got a favourite? Would you pick if you had the option?
If I had the option, probably mornings, I think.
Mornings, right.
Just get everything over and done with so you can have the rest of the day to just relax.
Relax, yeah. Without going to work is your key day.
Without going to work, yeah.
Yeah, good. Tell us your favourite ice cream flavour.
It'd probably have to be boysenberry ripple.
Oh, good. We've had 2 for that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Fancy meal out or home cooked meal?
Oh, probably fancy meal out. Definitely.
Like all the time we've answered that question, we've probably got, I don't know, 80-90% home cooked meals, but we've had 2 fancy meals out tonight. So maybe we just don't like doing the dishes, as Mike said.
Yeah. That's probably that's the turning point for me.
Maybe it's that ratio of carbs per dollar,
Yeah. Favourite snack to eat while out on a bit of an adventure?
Oh, I don't know. I do quite like a ginger nut. You put me onto those, Richard. The ginger nuts dipped in water.
Yeah, good. Okay. Yep. We might have to intro you to the custard square while adventuring.
That does sound quite nice.
Careful. And favourite place to train?
Oh, probably have to be Lake Brunner, just because there's hills and you've got the lake there, and then it's really close to Goats Pass too. So.
There's a few eels in that lake, Emma. You'll be doing some swimming in there this summer.
I definitely won't be swimming in there. Not a chance. I'll be swimming in the pool. I'm not a fan of lake swimming.
It'd make you go fast.
Yeah, I've tried lake swimming once and almost had a heart attack, and I didn't go off. Like I could touch the ground because I didn't want to go too far out. So I think I've got a lot to work on there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the eel status of Taupo is. I guess there's definitely plenty more people around you, so that's got a limit.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good. There's good in numbers, and the eels go away.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Awesome, Emma. Hey, fantastic to have you on board, and exciting to be working with you, and looking forward to the summer ahead of doing the double and doing some paddling, some running, some cycling, maybe some swimming, or definitely some swimming in the lake, and then also potentially some strength training. So, and you probably have to go to work and do everything else in your life. So it's going to be busy but fun.
Yeah, it's going to be really busy, but that keeps me out of trouble.
Good job. Well done.
Good job.
All right, thanks for having me.
All the best, and we'll see you on course somewhere from the sideline.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. See ya. Good
Cool.
job, Matt.
It's still like 6 months away, and it's kind of a bit strange in the middle of winter to be thinking about getting over there and watching all these athletes and standing out in the sun and at Klondike Corner in a hot nor'west day, and it's just great.
Fantastic. And what about Ironman, Matt? Is that on your list?
No, not at all.
Okay, just checking. Right,
Did you want to think about it a little bit longer?
Shall I ask you your favourite ice cream flavour? Would that be a better question?
It could be. Probably just about anything, as long as it's frozen and has and comes out of the freezer. I'm not picky.
Okay. Good.
The free ice cream is probably the best one.
Right. Okay. Good. Like it.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So just to wrap things up tonight, we've got our peak bagging competition. So Matt, your job before we catch up next is to go and bag a peak. Is it going to be on the Port Hills, or is it going to be a bit more inland for you?
This weekend will be the Port Hills.
Yep. Okay. Good.
That kind of thing. Yeah. Keep it local. Go and visit some old friends, I guess, from years past. It's it's good.
Awesome.
Yep.
So
the weather looks hopefully better than last weekend. But yeah.
Good. So just the Sun to watch, we've got that to give away. Yep. So get out there, share us a photo of you out there doing it with your dog, your family, your friends, maybe eating that ice cream at the top, possibly. I'm not sure if that's even doable. Maybe the side of the kiwi, you could get an ice cream and roll up to Sugarloaf, Matt. It is actually doable.
Could be done. That sounds like a challenge.
It does. I look forward to that. Fantastic. Well, thanks for pushing the buttons tonight, Matt.
Yep, no, it's good. Good to be here. Yep. And I guess thanks to our partners and sponsors for the evening, Sunto, Giant Bikes, Front Runner, True Fleece, Sunto, Pure Sports, Coffee Culture, and Evo Cycles. Get into it. Go and see those guys. They'll help you out with anything you need. But other than that, it's over and out for me, and we'll see you next week, possibly.
Yeah, good job. Cheers, Matt. Thanks for your time, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, no worries.
Well done, team.